Hey there, and welcome to The Explainer. You know that feeling, right? When you walk away from a purchase and you're thinking, did I get a good deal? Or did I just get taken for a ride? Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain on that very question. We're diving into the economics of the right price, and you'll see how markets, when they work well, can actually create value for pretty much everyone involved. All right, so here's the plan. We're going to start with that classic tug of war between buyers and sellers. Then we'll look at how both sides can actually win. We'll find that market sweet spot, check out some wild real-world examples, and wrap up with the big what if, what happens when the system breaks down. Okay, let's jump right in. Think about it. At the core of every single transaction, from your morning coffee to a massive stock trade, there's this built-in tension. I mean, we've all been there, haven't we? Buyers, you and me, we always want to pay less. And sellers, well, they always want to get paid more. It's this simple, universal push and pull that sets the stage for everything else. So that brings up a really fascinating question, right? Is there some kind of right price from society's point of view? A price that's fair for everyone? To even begin to answer that, economists have this cool concept called welfare economics. It's basically a way to measure the total benefit that everyone, buyers and sellers combined, gets from a market. We're talking about the whole pie, not just one slice. Okay, let's tackle this from the buyer's side of things first. You know that awesome feeling when you find a great deal? That little victory dance you do when you paid way less for something than you were actually ready to spend? Well, believe it or not, economics has a name for that exact feeling. So picture this, an auction for a super rare Elvis Presley album. You've got 4 huge fans in the room, Taylor, Carrie, Rihanna, and Gaga. Each one has a secret number in their head, the absolute maximum they'd be willing to pay. And that number, that willingness to pay, is basically how economists measure value. For Taylor, that album is worth a solid $100. So the auction kicks off. The price starts climbing. 50, 60, 70, Gaga's out. It hits 80, Rihanna's out, Carrie's out. And boom, the gavel falls. Taylor gets the album for $80. Now think about that for a second. She was ready to go all the way to $100, but she only had to pay $80. That $20 difference, that's her win. That's her benefit from the deal. And that $20, that feeling of getting a bargain, is what economists call consumer surplus. It's not just a fuzzy feeling. It's a real, measurable amount of value she gained just by being part of that auction. It's her piece of the economic pie. All right, so that's the buyer's side of the equation. Pretty straightforward, right? Now, let's flip the script and look at it from the seller's point of view. Turns out they get a slice of the pie too. Okay, new scenario. Let's say you need your house painted. You get quotes from 4 different painters. Now, each one has a cost, but it's not just about paint and brushes. It's also about their time, what they could be doing instead, their opportunity cost. For Andy, the most efficient guy, his absolute bottom line cost to do the job is $500. Naturally, you're looking for a good deal, so the painters are competing against each other. After some back and forth, you agree on a price with Andy, $600. Now remember, his rock bottom price was $500, so by getting paid $600, he's coming out ahead. That extra cash is his benefit, his win. And you guessed it, that extra $100 has a name: producer surplus. It's the mirror image of consumer surplus. It's the measure of the seller's profit, their satisfaction, their net benefit from making the deal. It's the seller's side of the win. Okay, so we've got consumer surplus for the buyers and producer surplus for the sellers. We have these 2 pieces of the puzzle. Now for the really cool part. What happens when we put them together? What happens in a real market with tons of buyers and tons of sellers all interacting at once? To wrap our heads around this, economists use this neat little thought experiment. Imagine a benevolent social planner, basically an all-knowing, super fair referee. Their only goal, not to help the buyers, not to help the sellers, but to make the total economic pie as big as humanly possible. They want to maximize the combined happiness of everyone in the market. And this is where the magic happens. That simple spot on the graph where supply meets demand, the equilibrium point, it does something truly remarkable. With no one in charge, no planner, no referee, the free market just finds it. It naturally lands on the exact price and quantity that makes that total economic pie, the consumer surplus plus the producer surplus, as big as it can possibly be. It's kind of amazing. So this is the big takeaway. The free market, when it's working right, does 3 things incredibly well. 1, it gets the goods to the people who want them the most. Taylor gets her album. 2, it makes sure the goods are made by the people who can do it most cheaply. Andy paints the house. And 3, it produces just the right amount of stuff to make everyone, combined, as well off as possible. This is exactly what Adam Smith was talking about with his famous invisible hand.
But look, this isn't just some dusty old theory in a textbook. These ideas are being used right now to tackle some really tricky everyday problems.
I mean, who hasn't spent what feels like an eternity circling the block hunting for a parking spot? It's maddening. Well, San Francisco decided to treat parking like what it is, a scarce resource. So they got smart. They use sensors to see which blocks are full and which are empty, and they adjust the price of the meters in real time. Busy block, the price goes up. Empty block, the price goes down.
And this is a brilliant example of the theory in action. The goal isn't to gouge drivers. No, the goal is to find that sweet spot, that equilibrium price, that ensures there's always 1 or 2 spots open on every block. It's all about efficiently allocating that limited resource we call curb space.
Now, applying these same principles can lead us into some pretty thorny debates. Take the shortage of human kidneys for transplants. From a purely economic efficiency standpoint, some experts argued that a legal market would solve the problem. It would match supply with demand and literally save lives. But, of course, that opens up a huge can of worms, right? It forces us to ask some really tough ethical questions about fairness and what, if anything, shouldn't be for sale. Okay, so it sounds like free markets are pretty perfect, right? Well, not so fast. It's really, really important to understand that this whole beautiful theory rests on a couple of big assumptions. And when those assumptions don't hold up in the real world, that's when the invisible hand can start to stumble. So what can go wrong? Well, for starters, our model assumes lots of competition. But what happens if you only have one seller, a monopoly? They can jack up the price, and that beautiful efficiency we talked about, it goes right out the window. That's market power. Then there's another sneaky problem, externalities. These are side effects, like pollution from a factory, that affect people who aren't even buying or selling the product. The market price doesn't account for that damage, so we end up with an inefficient and dirty result. These situations have a name: market failure. And honestly, this is where things get really interesting. Because once you understand why a market is failing, you can start to think about smart ways to fix it. So the big question isn't, are markets good or bad? They're neither. The real challenge is figuring out how we can harness their incredible power for creating value while also being smart enough to step in and correct them when they go off the rails. And that right there is one of the biggest puzzles in all of economics.